a number of spiritual paths. Your deeper questions might find answers in a session in the pastor's study. You're looking for something more, so let's offer you something different. Merry meet, blessed be, and welcome to yet another session in a very different pastor's study. People wonder why I like to wear a collar. I am clergy. Clergy's clergy. I have a path that will embrace just about any other path, one way or another. And it's a way of trying to say that, it's part of a way of trying to say that let's get together. Let's have some unity among us. And today, I want to talk about getting it. Yeah, you may have seen where I sometimes, I posted a note to somebody's channel on YouTube, a guy by the name of Storm Mark. And one of his videos, I said, it was so good to see somebody who actually get the point that he was trying to get across. It was obvious that he got it, and he very eloquently stated it. There's some other times where I talk about people who just don't get it. For all their talk, it's obvious that they just don't get it. And so I'm going to take this time to talk about one person who doesn't get it and somebody else who does. And to my mind, they both came as kind of surprises. Well, the first one wasn't that much of a surprise. A couple of books that a lot of people have seen, and except you, unless you happen to be living in Philadelphia and take a certain trolley, which is where I do most of my writing for this and for the Secrets in Plain Sight. This is the notebook I use for the Secrets in Plain Sight. And this is the one I use for Uriel's Gifts. And I came across Representative Peter King, a Republican from New York State. And he is the chair of the Homeland Security Committee. And he is having hearings on Muslim radicalization. And in this, he has made some rather broad-brush statements about Islam and Muslims in general, especially those in the United States. Now, did he go to college? Did he ever take a class in comparative religion? If he would have, or if he had somebody on his staff who did, he would know that just like any other major spiritual path, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, you'll find denominations within it. A Theravada monk in his saffron robe won't feel too comfortable in a Jodo Shinshu temple in Japan, where the priest wears a business suit for the most part. except when he's actually leading services. And there's Sunni and Shia And I'm told there's even further divisions than that. That would be like saying Protestant versus Catholic among Christians. Or, I don't know, among Wiccans would be Alexandrian versus Gardnerian. But then there's Famtrads, etc. And then he does this broad brush about they're not doing enough against terrorism. There are enough of them that join the armed forces. There are enough of them who are putting their lives on the line in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. Just because they're no longer in an official combat capacity in Iraq, do you think that that takes them out of harm's way? There's enough of them that the Department of Defense has decided to be gracious and allow Muslim chaplains. And if you go to any uniform catalog that has officers' uniforms, you'll find the crescent of a Muslim chaplain available there for anybody qualified to wear it. And where are the Wiccan chaplains? So Representative King, don't tell me that there aren't Muslims doing plenty to fight terrorism. I'm old enough to have some memories of the McCarthy era. If you're not old enough to remember the McCarthy era, you might want to look it up. When all you had to do was anonymously send somebody a subscription to the Daily Worker, and they could get blacklisted from their work. Among other things. That's somebody who doesn't get it. Now let me tell you about somebody who surprised me and a few others, including my presiding archbishop. Along with being a Wiccan high priest, I'm also a priest of the Universal Gnostic Fellowship and a member of their House of Independent Bishops, so yeah, I guess you could call me a bishop. I guess I am a bishop. But I came across some rather profound writing from somebody, and to some of you this might be a surprise. Now get a load of this. Eternal life is not, as the modern reader might immediately assume, life after death, in contrast to this present life, which is transient and not eternal. Eternal life is life itself, real life, which can also be lived in the present age and is no longer challenged by physical death. This is the point. To seize life, here and now, real life that can no longer be destroyed by anything or anyone. Pretty good stuff, huh? I can think of a couple of Wiccans who might say that, but they didn't. You know who said that? Who wrote it? Who put it in a book that's going to be available for sale very soon? Pope Benedict. Also known as Joseph Ratzinger, also known to some as God's Rottweiler. Yeah. Eternal life is not, as the modern reader might immediately assume, life after death, in contrast to this present life, which is transient and not eternal. Eternal life is life itself, real life, which can also be lived in the present age and is no longer challenged by physical death. This is the point, to seize life here and now, real life that can no longer be destroyed by anything or anyone. People say that separation of church and state is a relatively new phenomenon begun by the United States. Here's another quote from the same book. Through the message that he proclaimed, Jesus had actually achieved a separation of the religious from the political, thereby changing the world. This is what truly marks the essence of his new path. The separation of church and state. And so meanwhile, we have centuries of people who assumed that if the king was a Lutheran, then the rest of the country is going to be Lutheran. Or if the king decided to be Catholic, then the rest of the country would be Catholic. And we've got people now, the likes of Pat Robertson and Sarah Palin, who would love to bring that back again, wouldn't they? And then here's another one. Now we must ask, who exactly were Jesus' accusers? Who insisted that he be condemned to death? We must take note of the different answers that the Gospels give to this question. According to John, it was simply the Jews, but John's use of this expression does not in any way indicate, as the modern reader might suppose, the people of Israel, even less is it racist in character. After all, John himself was ethnically a Jew, as were Jesus and all his followers. The entire early Christian community was made up of Jews. In John's Gospel, this word has a precise and clearly defined meaning. He is referring to the temple aristocracy. Yeah, not, what would you want to say? John and Miriam Rabinowitz doing their daily thing? No, it wasn't them. It was the aristocracy, the religious establishment of the day. And talking about the resurrection, I could go into this at length. The resurrection accounts certainly speak of something outside our world of experience. They speak of something new, something unprecedented, a new dimension of reality that is revealed. What already exists is not called into question. Rather, we are told that there is a further dimension beyond what was previously known. Does this contradict science? Can there really only ever be what there has always been? In other words, as opposed to what some so-called intellectuals say, it doesn't contradict science, it goes beyond science. Science, after all, merely quantifies what we know. Take a look at what you and I are doing right now, communicating with each other. You might be in India, you might be in China, you might be in Russia, or you might be across the street. Nevertheless, 100 years ago, doing this would have been considered impossible. And if you'd have told somebody 200 years ago about this, they'd be calling it witchcraft or something to that effect. Science quantifies and explains and predicts and tries to control what we know about. And there we're talking about something that's beyond science. So while Peter King is trying to burn bridges, Pope Benedict is trying to build bridges. No, that doesn't mean I'm going to join them. I am a Wiccan. But it does mean that I see one of their major leaders saying that there's some things that we can share. And I see doors opening. And why not? It's the stuff that miracles are made of. Why not? And the more folks that get it, the more that can happen. Yeah. We don't have to homogenize. But it's good to be able to shake hands and smile at each other and respect each other. I mightn't. Blessed be. Uriel's Gifts and the Secrets in Plain Sight are sponsored by the Temple of Gaia. At Temple of Gaia, we don't train you to our path. We show you how to find and pursue your own path. Above all, we tried to provide a great place to come together and to share. We're located in Collingdale, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and wherever cyberspace can be reached. To learn more, visit our website at templeofgaiainc.org or our meeting place in cyberspace at templeofgaia.ning.com. Thank you for coming. Feel free to return at any time. We intend to always have something for you here. Blessed be. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.